Power doesn't always arrive with noise. Sometimes it arrives quietly. No revolution, no breaking point, just ideas introduced slowly, patiently, deliberately over time. These ideas reshape everything. This is the story of the Fabian Society and the strategy that changed politics without most people noticing. In late 19th century Britain, wealth is rising, but so is inequality. Factories expand, cities grow, millions are left behind. Some demand revolution, others choose a different path. Writers and thinkers like George Bernard Shaw, Sidney Webb and Beatrice Webb don't call for uprising. They design a strategy. They take inspiration from Fabius Maximus, a Roman general who refused direct battle. Instead, he delayed, adapted, and ultimately won. The Fabian strategy: don't fight the system, enter it, influence it, change it from within. They call it permeation. Over time, their ideas move into politics. The Labour Party emerges, and Fabian influence grows alongside it. Not through control, but through influence. They produce ideas, shape debates, and guide conversations. Leaders engage these ideas, and gradually those ideas shape policy. Influence expands beyond politics into education. The London School of Economics becomes a key institution. Future leaders are trained here. Critics argue this shapes not just policy, but the people behind it. The Fabian Society produces reports and publications. They don't make laws, but they influence those who do. Ideas become mainstream, and once accepted, they no longer need to be argued. The Fabian model spreads globally. Gradual reform becomes the norm. Change happens slowly but steadily. The Fabian Society operates in the open, yet its influence can feel invisible. Supporters call it progress. Critics call it quiet control. When change happens slowly, you don't resist it, you live inside it. The question isn't whether the Fabian strategy works. The question is who decides where it leads. Hello, it's Paul Cox here, and today I want to talk to you about the Fabian Society. This is by far and away the most requested subject of the This Is series, of which this is part. A series created by me to describe the words, phrases, organisations, etc. that are influencing the parlance and the political debate happening today in modern Britain. Some would say we're in a culture war, and I would be inclined to agree with them. However, today is all about the Fabian Society, arguably the one society that is driving most liberal socialist politics that we see today. And some of you may have never heard of it. It's been going for 140 odd years, starting in 1884, and in North London of all places. Of course it was. The home of Corbyn, the North London liberal elite, the BBC class, and all of those sneering, looking down at you types. Oh, the peasants! Look at the peasants! We need to tell them what to do. There are at least 141 MPs in Parliament today that have been members of the Fabian Society. Every Labour Prime Minister since the Labour Party has been in existence has been a member of the Fabian Society, including Tony Blair and Keir Starmer. So with an organisation with such influence, why do we not know much about them? Well, that is incredibly deliberate. The Fabian Society is built on a drip-fed approach. They don't often write policy. They don't often write laws. What they do is influence the people that do. They don't confront, they're not aggressive, they do it over time. Many of the Fabian practices that started in 1884 and later when the Labour Party came into fruition in the early 20th century are playing out today, played out throughout the 20th century. Some of the things that were created in the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s under Blair and Brownism are coming to fruition today. You don't feel its impact, you don't know it exists, but it does, and its impact is heavy, very heavy. It's laced throughout everything that's happening today. Just to give you some idea, as I said in that intro, the Fabian Society created the London School of Economics. The London School of Economics, a huge institution today in 2026. Many influential people got their degrees from the London School of Economics, and that is a Fabian Society creation. The New Statesman is a publication that you would have heard of, but is entirely created by the Fabian Society. So next time you hear someone who's been to LSE, next time you hear someone quoting from the New Statesman, know unequivocally they are either directly or indirectly, maybe not to their knowledge, influenced by the Fabian Society. Incredibly powerful. And the Fabian Society at its core is a socialist movement. Their strategy of permeation, and permeation meaning it seeps in over time, overtakes, influences, is very much instrumental in the creation of the welfare state, the National Health Service, the independence of the Bank of England, and the Labour Party constitution. Like I say, behind it all is this strategy of permeation. Rather than pursuing violent revolution, the Fabians sought to infiltrate institutions such as universities, the civil service, and political parties to normalise socialist ideas from within. Look at the things I just mentioned there. Universities, the civil service. Not a coincidence, is it, that we now know the civil service as the blob. One homogenous group of people trying desperately to influence at all times, irrespective of the political persuasion of the party/government in power. Wow. Our universities, where this woke ideology was born and proliferates to this day. You cannot exist on a university campus very comfortably with anything other than left-wing socialist views. If you don't have these, then you will be seen as bad. The lecturers, the deans, the institution, all heavily influenced by the Fabian Society, their socialist and progressive views. A number of the big institutions, like our health service, originated in pamphlets generated in those very early days by the Fabian Society. Now, I think most people watching this will at least be grateful for the NHS for helping maybe save their lives, save the lives of family members. So, on the face of it, not an issue. But when I tell you this, you might understand why people are sceptical. The coat of arms for the Fabian Society is a wolf in sheep's clothing. That is not a mistake. A wolf in sheep's clothing. The idea that they can infiltrate the pack and influence and kill from within is very much at the epicenter of everything the Fabian Society do. Obviously controversially, but undisputably true. The Fabian Society's founders, i.e. George Bernard Shaw and Sidney Webb, as well as William Beveridge, were advocacies of eugenics, including discussions of forced sterilisation, lethal chambers, and the elimination of those they deemed unproductive to society. So deep set within this socialist view of the world is eugenics. Think about that. Think about that today. I mean, obviously, I, doing what I do, know members of the Fabian Society. I have spoken to them them about this, and they dismiss this as something of the past. But they still follow the doctrine of these people, and these people believed in the sterilisation of undesirables. And that doesn't have to mean, and forgive me for saying this, I don't believe it, disabled people, for instance. That could mean somebody who doesn't share their view. The Fabian Society is incredibly sinister. It's dark. It exists. And the reason you don't know about it is because they have been incredibly clever about why and how they go about their business. If you're wondering today why Keir Starmer, for instance, hasn't stepped down from his position because he is the most unpopular, most disingenuous, scandal-ridden Prime Minister of generations, it's because he is a member of the Fabian Society, and there is work going on in this underclass to shape Britain for the future. And Keir Starmer is very much part of that. It's no accident that Keir Starmer is trying through the back door to get the UK to rejoin the EU without another referendum. It is no accident that Keir Starmer, through the back door, is trying to proliferate multiculturalism in Britain to prop up an economic policy and strategy that many of us do not believe in, that they wholeheartedly believe in and are not shaping for today, are shaping for later in the 21st century. You could be watching this long after my death, maybe looking back at something called YouTube, laughing at the quality of this video, laughing at the things I'm saying, the words I'm using. However, have a look around you today. Has 2020's Britain and its politician influenced you in the 2080s, in the 2090s? I guarantee it has in some way, and I guarantee that's because of the Fabian Society. Right up until modern day Britain, as close as 2023, there were broad policy blueprints being influenced by the Fabian Society. Notably, in 2023, there was a document titled Plans for Power, a Labour Party document which compiled policy positions on issues ranging from pension reform to planning policy and industrial strategy, intended as a legislative resource for an incoming Labour government. The Labour government that won the shallowest landslide of all time in 2024 is heavily influenced by a policy blueprint called Plans for Power, written by the Fabian Society, drip feeding in policy, socialism, ultra-liberal politics into day-to-day Great Britain, not just to influence now, but to influence the future. You are all part of a huge socialist experiment that has been going on since 1884, before the Labour Party was even a twinkle in its daddy's eye. The Fabian Society was full to the brim of North London intellectuals, thinkers, people who sit around all day with nothing else to do because they're not distracted by work, because they are wealthy, because they are able to continue their work without the need for distraction by other influences of day-to-day life like you and I. The very antithesis of what they profess to be. As we often see, and as I talked about in my video, this is cognitive dissonance. The people involved in making the change under the thinly veiled disguise of socialism from the workers up are very often so far removed from the workers that it is utterly laughable to believe they understand the workers at all. This is about influencing the workers. They know that if you can get huge groups of workers to think a certain way, they can change industry. Do you know what they call that? Unions. Unions exist today. Every single strike, every single problem you see when it comes to the civil service, it comes to public services, are almost certainly generated as a result of friction between those that run the business and those that want to influence the business. And they do this through workers' rights, and they do this through mass uprising. Who does it benefit in the end? Well, it's not the workers, it's those at the top. Are you starting to see the picture now? This is not about the little people. This is about the big, big people, and the way they want this country to be run, not just for now, but for future generations, of which them, their friends and their families will be part of. Look at the way it has gone. Look at the way the Labour Party has got in and out of power over the time that you and I have been alive. This is all incredibly well connected, seamlessly connected behind the scenes. There is a reason, to my mind, why Labour only come in once or twice in a generation. It's because when we get a glimpse of this stuff, when we see it for what it is, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. Look at today's Labour government. Incredibly disingenuous. You may hate Boris Johnson. I really don't like Boris Johnson for the Boris wave after Brexit. I don't like the way that the Conservative Party have dealt with many things in previous decades. But one thing we know about the Conservative Party is most of it is up front. We know what they stand for. We know where they come from in society, and we know what they think. With regards to the Fabian Society, the Socialist Movement, the Labour Party, and now, of course, the Greens. The Greens are going to take Fabian philosophy from this point now, which I already think is incredibly destructive, and make it 1,000 times worse than you can ever imagine. And there are people in your street, in your class, in your office building that are voting Greens because they think it's the kind thing to do, because they have been influenced by Zach Polanski. Zach Polanski's not the person at the top of the Green Party. Zach Polanski is the latest person who is incumbent in helping move this ideology forward. And it comes back to the same old thing. The way they are able to influence is through this surreptitious, sinister background movement, and the way they are able to change the narrative in the meantime is by calling anyone else who disagrees bad and evil. And you're telling me that we're the bad and evil people when these people are working in the background, doing things you've never asked for, doing things you've never wanted, and doing things for your good determined by them. That is hugely concerning. There is so much to talk about when it comes to the Fabian movement that I could make a video for hours and hours and hours. The purpose of the This Is series is to illuminate some of the words and organisations used on a day-to-day basis in the political debate, in the culture war, to help you and I understand better how to understand those that oppose us. That's what I'm trying to achieve today. The Fabian Society is a dark, sinister organisation that proliferates left-wing socialism politics and will continue to do so infinitum. It's almost impossible to break it down. And because it is as dark as it is, our human minds fail to accept that this is even possible. Even possible. It's no coincidence that 1884 is 5 years before the birth of the head of the Nazi Party. He and his people were influenced by this type of politics. Not directly, indirectly. There is a link between this and Nazi policies. Just look at eugenics. Just look at the way they influence. Except The one thing the Nazis did differently to the Fabian Society is they were incredibly aggressive. The Fabians have been successful and lasted the test of time because they are not aggressive. They trickle feed in policy via the influence of people, which they influence via the New Statesman, which they influence by the London School of Economics, but which they influence by endless Labour Prime Ministers, Labour Chancellors, Labour Cabinet Ministers over years and years and years. And there are some good meaning Labour grassroots councillors and activists that will be in complete cognitive dissonance about this and probably not even understand how they have been influenced and think that they are leading, that they are joined a union in order to impact change for the future. Not at all in any way. You are just the tiniest, squeakiest cog in a massive machine. The Fabian Society is worried. I know it's worried today because more and more people are understanding what it is. Don't let this fall out of your mind. Bring it to the forefront of your mind when you're having discussions. Bring it to the forefront of your mind when you are trying to talk to people or understand people trying to influence you from the left. This will not be the last time that I talk about the Fabian Society. This is merely an introduction. There are so many different things and policies that I've yet to speak about, but please do put your ideas and comments in the comments below. If you want me to talk about a specific policy, if you want me to talk about a specific person, I will do that. Share your views. We are creating a group of people here who are very interested in these things, and all of your views are welcome. If you like this video, please do subscribe, please do like, please do share, and please press that bell so you are notified every time I release a video. You can follow me at Paul Cox Comedy on all forms of social media. And until next time, keep it real.